Section 1. Introduction. A discovery of promise and peril. In the early 2000s, a significant discovery was made in western Uganda. It wasn't gold or diamonds, it was oil. The scale became public around 2006, sparking excitement and concern. The oil lies deep beneath the soil and water of the Albertine Graben, part of the East African Rift Valley that cradles Lake Albert. The region's natural beauty and ecosystems were suddenly at the center of industrial ambition. The discovery could transform Uganda from an oil importer to a major African producer. Estimated reserves, about 6.5 billion barrels of crude oil, recoverable with current technology, around 1.4 billion barrels. Three main players oversee the operation: TotalEnergies, CNOOC, Uganda National Oil Company, UNOC. These partners will develop the fields and build vast infrastructure. Billions in investment flowed in. Infrastructure plan, drilling pads, processing facilities, a pipeline stretching across 2 countries. For Uganda, oil revenue is a monumental opportunity, but with the promise comes responsibility. Big questions about the future. The decisions made today, October 24, 2025, will shape millions of lives in a precious landscape for generations. Section 2. The economic engine hopes of prosperity and growth. The potential economic benefits of Uganda's oil are at the forefront of the national conversation. For a developing country, the prospect of billions of dollars in annual revenue is a powerful motivator. This new income stream could fundamentally reshape the government's budget, providing the funds needed for critical public services. Imagine new roads connecting rural villages to markets, modern hospitals equipped to save more lives, well-funded schools that can offer a better education to every child. This is the vision that proponents of the oil projects often paint. The money from oil sales, they argue, could reduce the country's dependence on international loans and aid, giving Uganda greater control over its own destiny. Beyond government revenue, the oil industry is expected to be a significant creator of jobs. The construction and operation of oil fields and related infrastructure are massive undertakings. Thousands of jobs are anticipated during the initial construction phase: engineers and technicians, drivers, construction workers. While many specialized roles may go to expatriates, there's a strong push for local hiring and training. The goal is to build a skilled Ugandan workforce. This direct employment can create more jobs in supporting industries, hospitality, logistics. Section 3. The Great Pipeline, forging a path to global markets. A central element is the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, EACOP. It's a monumental feat of engineering and logistics. The pipeline will carry crude from the fields in Hoima, Uganda, all the way to the port of Tanga, Tanzania. It spans 1,245 kilometers, about 900 miles. It will be the longest heated crude oil pipeline in the world. Heating is necessary because Uganda's oil is very waxy. At ambient temperatures, the oil would solidify and become impossible to pump. That technical need raises complexity and cost. The pipeline's main purpose is to provide a reliable export route to international markets. Without it, oil in the Albertine Graben would stay trapped inland. No viable way to sell it globally. Connecting fields to a major seaport unlocks the reserve's economic potential. Once in Tanga, the oil can be loaded onto massive tankers and shipped to refineries worldwide. The pipeline is not just infrastructure, it's the critical link to the global energy economy. It enables Uganda to generate revenue from its oil. Building such a long pipeline is itself an economic driver. The project requires construction camps, storage yards, and access roads along the route. That activity creates demand for local goods and services. The discovery of oil does not just change a country's economy, it also profoundly alters its political and social landscape. When a nation suddenly gains access to a resource as valuable as oil, it can lead to a significant concentration of power. This phenomenon is sometimes referred to as resource nationalism, where the state asserts greater control over its natural wealth. In Uganda, the government has positioned itself as the primary manager of the oil sector, using the promise of future revenues to strengthen its authority. Some observers worry that this influx of oil money could make the government less accountable to its citizens and more reliant on resource wealth than on a broad tax base, potentially weakening democratic institutions over time. One of the most immediate and personal impacts of the oil projects is on land. To drill for oil, build processing facilities, lay the extensive EACOP pipeline, large areas of land are required. In many cases, this land is already occupied by communities who have lived and farmed there for generations. The process of acquiring this land has led to widespread disputes and social tension. Thousands of families have been asked to relocate, leaving behind their homes, leaving behind their farms, and ancestral graves. While compensation is offered, there have been numerous reports of disagreements over the fairness of the payments and long delays in their delivery, leaving many people in a state of uncertainty. The displacement of communities raises serious human rights concerns. The environmental risks associated with Uganda's oil projects are substantial and have drawn significant international attention. A major point of concern is the location of the oil fields. Some deposits lie within or adjacent to Murchison Falls National Park, Uganda's largest and oldest protected area. This park is a jewel of biodiversity, home to iconic wildlife such as elephants, lions, giraffes, and a vast array of bird species. The Nile River flows through the park, culminating in the spectacular Murchison Falls. Industrial activities like drilling, road construction, heavy traffic can disrupt this delicate ecosystem, fragmenting habitats and disturbing migration and breeding grounds. The risk of pollution poses a constant threat to the region's sensitive environment. An oil spill could have catastrophic consequences, from a wellhead, a processing facility, the pipeline. A spill in or near Lake Albert or the Nile River could contaminate water sources used by millions of people and countless wildlife. It could decimate fish populations, which are a vital source of food and income for local communities. The waxy nature of Uganda's crude oil makes it particularly difficult to clean up, and the remote location of many of the project sites would complicate any emergency response efforts. The long-term health of the region's lakes, rivers, and wetlands is at stake. Beyond the immediate local impacts, the project has global implications for climate change. The burning of fossil fuels is the primary driver of the climate crisis, and the EACOP project is designed to facilitate the extraction and sale of large quantities of oil for decades to come. Climate activists calculate that, once the oil transported by the pipeline is burned, it will release over 34 million tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere each year. This is a significant amount, roughly equivalent to the emissions of a small European country. Critics argue that embarking on a massive new fossil fuel project in an era of climate emergency is irresponsible and undermines global efforts to transition to cleaner energy sources. In response to the intense scrutiny of the oil project's environmental and social impacts, the companies involved have made numerous public commitments. TotalEnergies and its partners say they are dedicated to developing the projects responsibly. They point to the extensive environmental and social impact assessments conducted before approval. Those studies, the companies say, identified potential risks and outlined measures to avoid, reduce, compensate for those impacts. The companies insist they will adhere to the highest international standards. They often cite the IFC performance standards as their benchmark. For instance, to protect wildlife in Murchison Falls National Park, they have pledged to limit the physical footprint of operations. This includes drilling multiple wells from a single location, pad drilling, to reduce the amount of land cleared. They also talk about using advanced technology to minimize noise and to minimize light pollution that could disturb animals. To prevent oil spills, they promise to use high-quality materials and to install monitoring systems. In the event of a spill, they claim to have detailed emergency response plans. For the EACOP pipeline, they have committed to rehabilitating the land after construction, and they say certain sensitive areas will be designated as no-go zones. Despite these assurances, a broad coalition of local and international groups remains deeply skeptical. Critics argue promises on paper do not always translate into effective action on the ground. They point to the inherent risks of drilling in such a sensitive ecosystem. Activists have challenged the adequacy and independence of the initial environmental impact studies, claiming those studies downplay the most serious risks. Uganda stands at a pivotal moment, its future tied to the immense reserves of oil beneath its land. The path ahead holds great opportunity and also grave peril. On one hand, oil offers unprecedented economic transformation. Revenues could fund development for decades. Schools, hospitals, roads, lifting millions out of poverty. It could create jobs, foster new industries, give greater economic independence. A vision of a more prosperous, self-reliant Uganda powered by its own wealth. On the other hand, the resource curse looms. History shows oil can bring increased corruption, deeper inequality, social unrest. The risks are clear and present. Displacement of communities, political power becoming more concentrated and less accountable. Irreversible damage to precious ecosystems. The global climate crisis adds complexity. It questions investing in a fossil fuel future. Whether this oil is a blessing or a curse is not yet written. It depends on choices in the coming years.